Our quick tip for today is to look at your reviews to find out what your clients value most.
Okay, let's get into it.
This is the Top Secret Wedding Podcast, where we share top secret tips to help you take your wedding game to the next level.
I'm Annika, and I'm a wedding coordinator, enthusiast, and venue manager for one of the best venues in Idaho.
I'm Chris, and I'm a DJ, master of ceremonies, and all-around lover of weddings.
We're on a mission to improve weddings and wedding professionals everywhere.
So today we're talking all about reviews.
Yeah.
I'm excited about this one. I think reviews are super important.
They are, yeah.
So let's talk about why reviews are important to begin with. What would you say?
Yeah. So, I mean, right away, reviews are the social proof of how well you and your business are doing. You know, most times people, they're going to go off recommendations from friends or what people are saying about your business. You know, that's going to be their first impression of you. So even if your website is this stunning, beautiful thing, if it is just full of reviews that are negative, that's going to be their first impression. So
yeah, like the first thing that I do when I'm looking at a product to buy on Amazon, instantly go to the reviews.
Go to the reviews.
Instantly.
Yeah. No, exactly.
And I always I actually look at the negative reviews first.
Do you really?
I do, because I'm like, what's wrong with this?
Yeah.
And a lot of times the reviews are like, you can tell the reviews are written by somebody stupid.
Yeah.
Because they're like, it didn't work for the thing that I bought it for. We're like, you shouldn't have bought it. So, yeah. So I think, like you said, social proof.
Yeah.
They're not going to trust the person selling the product.
Exactly. Like, of course, the salesman is selling it up. That's their job. But what is the friendly neighbor saying about it? You know?
Yeah.
So,
this is a side note. Have you ever had one of your clients ask for a referral, like somebody to call?
wait, what do you mean?
Like, so they say, hey, can I talk to one of your previous clients?
I have not had that.
I've had it a couple of times.
Have you really?
Yeah.
That's interesting.
A couple of times. So.
Huh. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's good to keep in touch with your clients.
That's a good idea.
Yeah. I also think that, reviews are really good for marketing.
Yeah.
Because those are things that you can use, and we'll talk about how to use them specifically, but those are things that you can use on your website, right? They may post the review on Google or on Wedding Wire or wherever, but if you're not using those reviews on your website or in your social media, then you're definitely missing something.
For sure. Well, and I think too, reviews help build trust with your clients, you know? That's the thing. It's not just the sales pitch guy, but they're on your website, they're on your social media. It's building that trust.
Yep, exactly. So, because like you said before, they're going to take your client's word over your word.
Of course.
So if you can say something, yeah, we'll get into that. But if you can say something in your client's words instead of your own words, it's so much better.
Yeah.
And it's also good for SEO.
It is.
Having good reviews. There's a lot of reasons why it's good for SEO, but if you have reviews on your website, it's only going to help your SEO.
Exactly. I think that's the thing too. You start getting into all of the SEO, and just all reviews can do is help.
Yep.
That's all they do.
Yep. Exactly. Okay, so let's talk about how to get reviews. So what is your process for getting reviews?
Yeah. So it's kind of a two-step process, but we typically ask for reviews after the wedding day, However, we don't want to ask on the wedding day. That's awkward. They're in their moment. Like,
right.
Let them be. Let them enjoy their wedding. And I also like to wait about 2 to 3 weeks or so after.
Okay.
Because most times our clients are going on a honeymoon or something. They're in that time, they're in their wedding era, and I want them to live and enjoy that. Yeah. So about 2 to 3 weeks after their wedding, whoever was the venue consultant for that wedding, the staff member working with them, I have them email out just an email and a Google form that just says like, hey, I hope everything's going well, congratulations again. If you could fill out this Google form and leave us a review. The Google form is for most of our weddings, we're able to get back photos. and we want to tag all the vendors. But it's hard for us to know who all the vendors either were or who they ended up being, because who we ask at their details meeting 2 months ago, sometimes it's not the same. It changes, you know? So I like to ask afterwards, because you never know what's changed or what. Yeah. And in that as well, we do ask for a review, but we also ask for it in that first email so it doesn't get lost in the form, if that makes sense.
Yeah, so let me ask you a couple of specific questions. So when you're sending that email, do your people have specific emails, or is it one like label email?
So they do have specific emails. Typically it comes from the generic label.
Okay.
But signed with the email signature of the specific. We all have our specific email signatures.
Okay.
So.
And so where is the review, the links, what are you asking for reviews from? What sites are you asking for?
So number one, we ask for Google, just because Google is the king. We also like to ask for them on Wedding Wire and The Knot.
Okay.
So we do get quite a few of our brides looking at us through, I don't remember what the name is now that they're combined, but
it's
Wedding Pro or something.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, we do get quite a few clients coming from that. So we do like to keep those up to date with reviews, but Google's king.
Yep.
So
where are you asking for that in the email, or are you asking for it in the form?
Both. Mostly because we'll get clients who are like, well, I don't want to fill out the form. I don't have time for that. Oh, but here's a quick link to a review. I'll do that really quick. Or you get the clients that go through the whole form and then they're like, oh yeah, and then I'll leave a review.
Interesting. So you're putting it twice.
I am putting it twice just because I have found better success with that.
Yeah, that's smart.
Once. So.
Okay. So a couple of things that I do, and you may do this too. I use canned responses. Yeah. So in Gmail, it's a way to basically have pre-written emails. And if you're not using this, then you're wasting time, because I'm sure that there are tons of emails that you're sending over and over.
Yeah.
Same words. And so if you just put that into the canned responses, then you won't have to write it over and over. You just change the names or whatever.
Yeah.
So I have a canned response for my reviews, and of course I go in and I like make specific edits and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And then the other thing is, sometimes if I have well, let me ask you this. Do you ever have like a negative response? Like, what do you do when you have a client that was not 100% happy?
So to be honest, I'd say most times our clients are 100% happy. Yeah. Where we run into that issue is any of the guests or family members.
Oh.
Because there's some miscommunication, or they don't understand what we communicated to bride and groom, or there's some lack of meeting the expectation.
Sure.
And then that's when, people are always more vocal when it's a negative experience than a positive. But typically, I mean, I guess with negative reviews, are you asking about negative reviews specifically?
Well,
or asking about if a client had a negative experience? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I mean, to be honest, we're not as, I haven't experienced that as much. Yeah. So
I haven't either.
Okay.
But if I send one of my guys out, and I know that it wasn't 100% perfect, right?
Yeah.
If I have any doubts, then instead of sending out a review link, I'll send out a form, just the form.
That makes sense. Because I think there's one that I can think of, and that's kind of what we did.
Yeah.
And even in that form, we have ways we could improve.
Yep.
And so it gives them that opportunity to let that out there and not in a review.
Yeah. And I mean, frankly, I do want to know those things.
Of course.
If there's something I can improve, I want to know those things.
Yeah.
I don't want that broadcast to everybody that looks at me on Google.
Yeah.
But I do want to know it. I did have a friend that he said that he doesn't put the review link in the email. He says, hey, would you be willing to review me if I sent you a link? So that way he gets their buy-in before giving them the link.
That's smart.
Yeah. I don't know if it works.
That's smart. I'd be willing to test it.
Yeah.
So
The other thing that I've seen is if you're not sure if you're consistently not sure of the response that you're going to get, using a smiley face. So a happy
Yeah.
smiley face that takes them directly to the link to review. A sad smiley face takes them directly to the link for a form. So that way, if you just want to send out a blanket email, then it's easier to do every single time.
Okay.
But I also, I think it's so important that I stress that you should be asking for reviews.
Yeah.
All the time.
All the time.
Every single client.
Well, yeah. And I think that's something I've taught my staff too, is like, we get so many guests that come to these weddings and they're like, oh my goodness, this place is so beautiful. The staff was amazing. Like, they're giving you this amazing review to your face.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's awkward if you're just like, thank you.
Thanks.
Like,
Yeah.
the best thing to say is say, thank you so much. Would you mind leaving us a review? And more often than not, they are like, oh, absolutely. We'd love to do that. You know, and then that's just giving you more reviews.
Yeah.
And it's not an awkward thank you.
That's smart.
So, yeah.
I had a wedding a couple weeks ago, and some random guy came up to me at the end of the wedding. He's like, you did such a great job. And what's the name of your company? I told him, just a short conversation. And like 10 minutes later, he had left me a review.
Yeah.
Just like a guest. And it was cool.
I feel like most nights, like wedding nights, the day is wrapping up, we start to get reviews just because it's the end of the night and people are like, oh, yeah, like let's leave them a review. Yeah. But with that, I do think it's important. Like another aspect of that is get out of your comfort zone and talk to the guests, because you don't want to just hop on the microphone and be like, hey, I loved being here tonight. Leave me a review. Like, that's going to kill the mood, you know? Right. But like, take a little walk around, talk to people. How's your night going? Get a vibe. And then if it feels good, extend the invite to leave a review.
Interesting. Yeah. I would do that in person.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's interesting. Okay. How do you use reviews?
Yeah. So, I mean, instantly, kind of like you mentioned, I use reviews on our website.
Yeah.
You know, because we do a lot of weddings and reunions, we've got different reviews for different types of events. Sure. But on each page, there's at least 3 reviews, and they've got to be relevant reviews. Okay. You know, it's 2022. Even if you have this sparkling review from 2000, it's not relevant anymore. Nobody cares. So it's got to be relevant, but you also want them to be seen. I'm also a little picky with where they end up on my website page, because you want them to be seen, but you don't necessarily want it to distract from the whole vibe, if that makes sense. Yeah. You know, like if you go to my homepage, you don't want the very first thing to be a review. Yeah. You want to be like, okay, well, I want to get the vibe first and then look at a review. Yeah. So.
Yeah, I think that's good. And, you know, like I was saying earlier, if you can use your clients' reviews to say something that you were going to say, so much better. So, for example, if I wanted to say, we are the best DJs in Idaho, that sounds so full of myself, right? But if I get a client to say, we've been to 100 weddings and this was the best DJ ever, saying that and citing it as it's from one of my clients. Yeah. It says so much more.
Oh, exactly. Well, it's that whole buying from the customer, not the salesman. Yeah. You know? Yeah. Quick random question. How do you cite your reviews? Do you use like initials, a name?
Oh, that's a good question. I usually use their names.
Their names?
Unless they've asked me not to.
Gotcha.
Yeah. I usually go by whatever they've left as their name on Google.
Gotcha. Okay.
Google or Wedding Wire. So if they leave their full names, then I figure that's the permission to use it.
Okay. I see. Yeah. Solid. I'm always skeptical, so I do first name, last initial.
Oh, that would work too.
Because I don't know, yeah. But that's what I do.
I did have one client, probably like 10 years ago almost. One client, and they said, hey, we are really trying to fix our security online. Can you remove our picture and our review? So it wasn't because they were upset with the service. They just,
for sure, yeah.
When they Googled their names, it came up on my website. So,
Gotcha.
Yeah. So yeah, I guess to say it clearly, usually so I have a whole page for reviews, and it's
Okay, yeah.
really, really long.
Yeah.
And I got to start thinking about how to fix that maybe by year or something, because it's kind of overwhelming. But usually on your main pages where you're doing your selling, you don't want to use a full review because nobody's going to read it.
Exactly.
So you just want to pull out the snippets. The same if you have any video reviews. I don't know if you've ever done that.
I want to. I haven't.
It's tricky because you don't want to ask them the day of.
See, that's the hard part. Yeah.
So, but for those, I'll usually pull out just a snippet from that video and put it next to the video. So, because they may not watch the video unless they see that there's something interesting.
Yeah.
That's quoted from that. So, yeah, just picking out the most important parts, like one sentence, maybe two sentences, and quoting that. You can link it to the full review if you want, but nobody's going to read. If you put the whole review, you're going to lose the whole review because
I agree.
Read it.
Well, I think that's what I'm pretty sure all of our reviews on our website are snippets because it's just I feel like you have the attention span for not that long. It's like you've got 3 seconds that people are looking at it and then they're moving on.
Yeah.
So what do you want the most important piece of information to come from that snippet?
Yeah. I'm going to have to go review my website. Hopefully I don't make these mistakes. I don't know if you ever do this, but for me, it's good motivation, right? To look at your reviews and just see like, what are people saying about me?
Yeah.
Like everybody gets those down days, right? So if you can just like look at your reviews and just see like, they love me.
Oh yeah. You know? Well, and I feel like so many times that just gives you the boost. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know, you do so much of these long, hard days. And you're like, oh, is this actually making a difference? And go and look at the reviews and it just makes your day.
Makes you feel good.
Yeah.
Yeah. It also can help you understand your value.
Yeah.
Because I think, you know, if you look at, on Google at least, I know it shows you like the top phrases that are mentioned.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it'll tell you like, I think on mine, it says like announcements or something like that and games or something. So looking at those things and just reading through your reviews and finding what the most common things that people are saying.
Yeah.
You can even take those reviews. There's websites that you can look for the most common words. So you just copy all your reviews, paste them into this, and it'll tell you like the word DJ was said 50 times.
Yeah.
And the phrase best DJ was said 20 times. So it's kind of cool to view it from an analytical standpoint because that can tell you what your clients are valuing, and so you can market those things.
So that makes sense.
Yeah.
That's a really good idea.
Yeah.
You've got my like brain turning over here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like to use them on Facebook groups too. Like I'll take just a snapshot of or screenshot of that review, and sometimes I'll retype it out just to get the best parts of it, but I'll take a screenshot of it, and then when somebody says, hey, looking for DJs in the Idaho area, then I'll just say, hey, here's a recent review. Check it out.
Yeah.
Post that screenshot. And it's way better than, hey, we'd love to hear about what you're doing and we'd love to be your photographer. Like, that's good too, but nobody cares what you say.
Exactly. Well, and I think a lot of it, there's a lot to be said about that's going to stand out. You know, on those, I've seen those groups, you know, someone says I'm looking for a photographer and you get like 20 that are like, hi, I'm so-and-so. And that's good. But then you get a picture and that's going to stand out. And just like naturally, the human eye is drawn to pictures before words. So even if it's a picture with words, you're going to jump to the picture and see what that says before you look at all the other comments.
Yeah, that's true. I also use it on Instagram. Like I'll put the like I'll make a custom like image with a picture that I got from their photographer with a little snippet of their review, and I put it on Instagram as a post. Just so people can see what other people are saying.
Yeah, I will say so because we do ours a little different, mostly for the aesthetic of the gotta keep the aesthetic there for the gram. But we do have a highlight bubble with reviews and.
Oh, like story bubbles.
Yeah, so like one of the story bubbles with reviews. And so whenever people are like, oh, like I want to see reviews, there's a whole bubble
That's smart.
full of reviews that people can go to. So
I like that.
it's nice too, because if you go to that bubble, it's just on that automatic. And so even if you're like clicking through, it's like, there's a review. It's like showing them all the reviews.
That's smart.
So, and it keeps the gram aesthetic there and pretty. So, another location that I like to use reviews on is, so when our clients come in tour, the very end, the sales pitch moment, we have a handout, of course, with the pricing guide and what's included, but also we have a handout that's, this is what your experience is going to look like. Like, if you book with us, this is what it's going to look like. This is when you would have your details meeting. This is when your payment would be due. Sure. This is your wedding day, But on the back of that are reviews. So they've seen the tour, they understand the value, right. And then you're hitting them with the reviews right there. Yeah, so, smart. Yeah.
I like that. I kind of do that. So in my emails, when I send them the contract and the quote and all of that, at the bottom, I'll also put PS. Here's a review you might find interesting. Mm-hmm. And I never use the same reviews. I'm always looking through okay, when I talk to them, they mentioned dance party and timely announcements. So find a review that says those things.
That says that. That's smart. Cater it to them.
I put that in there, and then below that I'll say, and to see other reviews, put a link here.
Yeah.
Likely they've already read those reviews by the time I've talked to them, but they may not have read that specific review. And another thing, sometimes I'll say, this is just something I'll throw out there. Mm-hmm. I'll say, okay, so I'll send you a contract and a quote, and I'll also send you a link to some reviews. So if, there are, you can read those reviews, and if these are the kinds of things you'd like to say after your wedding, then we might be a good fit.
Yeah.
So that way, it inspires them to read them. I don't know if that actually does anything, but yeah.
For sure.
So, and then, we kind of talked about this stuff, but.
Yeah. So I do want to talk a little bit about the other platforms. So with our setup, on this list here that I'm looking at, we've got the Knot, Wedding Wire, Zola. I always butcher this. Verbo.
Verbo.
Okay. Yeah. Airbnb. So I know for LaBelle Lake, we are listed on Verbo and Airbnb, and those reviews are critical to us. That's, I don't know, that's just so, again, like we've talked about, that's where people go first. They find the property. It's beautiful and stunning. They think it's going to be a great fit.
Yeah.
They go to the reviews, and almost all of those reviews, those ones are all catered more towards family reunions and lodge stays. Okay. So it's good because if you go to Google, most of our Google ones are wedding related.
Oh, I see.
Yeah. And so you want to make sure the right reviews are targeting the right audience, because, if this family reunion's looking for a state, they're not going to care how good of a wedding someone had. It's not relevant to them. But on Airbnb and Verbo, it's there, it's exactly relevant to what they're looking for.
Interesting.
And I think kind of the double catch with Verbo and Airbnb is it's just as important for us to leave guests a review. So that's a big thing for us.
Interesting. Is
every time they check out, we get the little notification, review their stay. Yeah. And if you review their stay, it does help you be a better, it gets you some good karma or whatever with Airbnb, but also it kind of helps you. I know they do one thing where you can't see their review till you review them unless it's been past a week. Oh, so if you're interested to see, you have to fill it out to then give them a review, but it also just shows that you are a present host and you care about the experience. Right. If you're not reviewing the stays.
Yeah, I'd rather stay at a place where they're active. Yeah.
Yeah. So it just shows that you're on top of it and you're active. But yeah.
Interesting. Interesting. Two things that I wanted to mention. We'll probably cover the second one in its own episode, but one, I like to also leave reviews for other vendors that I've worked with.
Oh yeah. I love to too. That's a great idea.
And, if there's a vendor that I didn't like, I don't leave a bad review for him.
Right.
But the positive reviews, I mean, it'll get you reviews probably from them.
Yeah.
But it's just a nice thing to do. Just be a good person.
It is. Yeah. Well, and I mean, that whole, again, we've talked about it, but community over competition and just getting your name out there and being the friendly whatever.
The friendly vendor.
The friendly vendor.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
Yeah.
So.
And the second thing is if you get a bad review,
Yeah.
I think it's really important to respond to those bad reviews.
It is. It is.
Do you have any bad reviews that you guys have responded to?
Yeah. Ironically, okay, so we'll talk about this more later, but we do the Ice Palace.
Right.
So we have a whole other business we do in the winter.
Yeah.
And when it started, they were together. It was the same business.
Oh, tricky.
It has since split. So a lot of our bad reviews are from Ice Palace, but it's on LaBelle's Google. So most of them it's tricky because it affects our rating, but it's like not relevant.
Yeah.
The only other ones are like little things we can't control, but you have to respond. You can't just like
it rained on my wedding day.
Leave it. Yeah. So, and again, like I said earlier, most times they're a guest or somebody. It's never bride and groom, but it's always the one that always cracks me up. It's like that our fish looks sick. We get that, not all the time, but like they'll pop up here and there because the fish are fat. Like they get fed all day, every day.
Yeah.
And they start to look a little meh given the time of year or whatever. And so we will get reviews that say like their fish look ill, like they need to take care of that. And it's like, okay, so how do you respond to that, Yeah. But it always cracks me up.
That's pretty funny.
But it is so important to respond because it shows that you're active, that you're there, that you care. I think that's a big thing, is it shows you that you care about it. But one thing that's interesting that my marketing girl taught me is you want to respond, but you never want to say your name. Because if you say your name, like in the response, like if you say, I'm so sorry you had a bad time at LaBelle Lake.
Yeah.
That's going to pop up when people Google LaBelle Lake.
Oh, interesting.
So you want to say, I'm so sorry you had a negative experience at our venue. You want to be kind of vague because if you say the name, it
could pop up.
It's going to pop up.
Mm-hmm.
So but likewise, if it's a really good review, you want to use your name.
Yeah.
So.
Smart. I hadn't thought of that.
That's good. So.
Okay. Well, sweet.
Okay.
It's all about reviews. Hopefully you got a couple of nuggets there. But ask for reviews and use your reviews.
Yeah.
Super important.
So.
Okay. See you next time. Thank you for listening to this episode of the Top Secret Wedding Podcast.
Subscribe, rate, and review us, and we'll see you next time.